Speaking of the judgments, have you ever felt that, Christine? Have you ever felt people have judged you for not having children? Or
I think it's definitely got less. I think people are much more open-minded about everything, and women are allowed to do what they want to do. But I think certainly back in the day, there would have been that sort of assumption that if you're not having children at the right age, well, you must be a bit of a cow, really. You're too ambitious. It's all about you. It's a selfish thing. And of course, that's not the case for lots of women. There's lots of reasons why women don't have babies.
Well, I was going to say, and I mean, obviously the other reason is that you are unable to.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course that doesn't make you less of a woman. Steph's emailed in, she said, this is a slightly offensive suggestion to those who are unable to have children. They are no less of a woman for not having children, even those that choose not to have them. And then Pauline says, I guess the same can be said about men. You're not a man until you have a child. My daughter's dad was never a father to them, so was never a man in my eyes.
I mean, times have changed. My mum grew up in Ireland and she was one of 13, and all the boys were told that they should get a job and, you know, look after their partners in the future, whereas the girls were all told, no point you getting a job or getting an education because you're all going to go off and get married and have babies. That's what it was like in those days. Thank God it's different now, but that's what my mum was told, you know, like growing up and that.
And Joss has said, yes, I'm afraid it is very true and heartbreaking for those of us who have missed our chance to be a mother. Whether society thinks it or not, you feel a failure yourself and there's nothing you can do about it. As a society, we've still got our prejudices and our little hang-ups about this.
It is weird how we, as progressive as we feel or we become, that there are this kind of debris or residue from the past that kind of gets confusing and carries with us even if we don't want it to.
Yeah, because I was like you at the beginning when I heard that Serena Williams had said this, I thought, that's 1950s thinking. How can anyone think that anymore? But then the more you talk about it, the more you realise it's a really complex issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think women put so much pressure on themselves as well, don't we? Because I have several friends, and I've talked about it on the show before, that have gone through the whole IVF thing, to find that it's just not happened for them at all. And they feel terrible guilt. They feel like their body has let them down because all they ever wanted was to give birth and to have a little baby. And I feel terribly sorry for women that go through that, and men, actually, the couples. It's an awful position for people because it's the one natural thing we assume we're all going to be able to do. And then the second you start trying, you realise it's not that easy sometimes.
Yeah, it is a very complex and emotional issue, you know, and even just interesting when we first go to the woman, you know, it's hard for her to conceive, and we don't actually think about the poor guy who wants it. It's a very...
And then we also live in a society where if you get pregnant by accident, you end up saying sorry to the fella. I'm so sorry I'm pregnant. Excuse me.
Takes two, Definitely didn't do it on her own.